Maplewood Economic Development Authority, September 13th, 2021. Can she call the roll?
Yeah, I didn't see you come
could you call the
in.
roll, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Abrams?
Present.
Commissioner Juneman?
Here.
Commissioner Cave?
Here.
Commissioner Villavicencio?
Here.
President Knutson?
Here. Thank you. We have an approval for the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Cave. Thank you. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It's approved. We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 26th, Economic Development Authority special meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Juneman. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 26th, 2021 Economic Development Authority Housing and Economic, and meeting with the Economic Housing and Economic Development Commission.
So
Special
moved.
joint meeting. Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Abrams.
Second.
By Commissioner Cave. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Same sign. Motion is approved. There's no public hearing tonight, no unfinished business. We have new business with the grant agreement with the YMCA. Executive Director Coleman, that is yours to present.
Thank you. I forget your title, President Knutson?
Okay.
There you go. The YMCA of Greater Twin Cities has requested financial assistance above what is currently required through our operating agreement. The EDA will consider the attached grant agreement with the Y of the Greater Twin Cities, which provides business relief funding and reimbursement for community response to the COVID-19 public health emergency. The Y is seeking $350,000 to help offset losses to government-mandated shutdowns and loss of memberships. And I wanted to remind the council that when we talked about the Y last year, in September of 2020, we allocated $800,000 of CARES funding to the EDA for the purpose of providing business relief. And at that time, our finance director, Ellen Paulseth, indicated to us that it was appropriate for us to move this through the EDA as part of the requirements to provide a business subsidy, for the city council to provide business subsidy. That was the best mechanism to do that. So Ms. Paulseth is indicating she'd like to see us do that same way to do that this year. So in 2020, you'll see that you'll remember that we gave $500,000 to reimburse expenses of the community response, and also $300,000 for the reopening and monthly operations of the community center through December of last year. At this time, the YMCA is seeking $350,000 to help offset losses due to the government-mandated shutdowns and the loss of memberships. And so this grant agreement is for $350,000, and it's for the year 2022, so it's for next year. The attached grant agreement is in your packet, and we are looking for a motion this evening to approve the grant agreement with the YMCA. And then later in the council agenda, we'll update the operating agreement itself. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. Otherwise, Mr. President, we do need a motion to approve that agreement.
Any questions from the council? Commissioner Abrams?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out to our two commissioners on the EDA who were not here last year that last year the Y provided some really important support for our community. It's listed in here, but I just wanted to highlight it. During the public health emergency, they delivered and dispersed meals for members of the community in need. They provided welfare checks on senior citizens. They provided child care services for public safety workers, healthcare workers, teachers, and other members of the community. They also organized the food drive, the Farm to Families food drive, and so they were a very important partner with us getting our community through the pandemic last year. I just wanted to highlight that because we really very much appreciated the WISE partnership.
Very much so. Any others? My thoughts on this, too, are that, this is Maplewood Community Center, and, essentially, it's ours. And I always use the term but for the fact that the YMCA is helping us continue to provide that for the community. So when we look at this, it's really ours. So,
Absolutely.
any other questions? Is there a motion?
I will move the grant agreement with the YMCA.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Juniman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion is passed. We now have a resolution providing approval of the 2022 preliminary EDA budget. Finance Director Paul Seth.
Thank you, President and Commissioners. Subsequent to this meeting, the City Council will be adopting the proposed property tax levy for taxes payable in 2022. On an annual basis, the EDA recommends a budget to the City Council so that the City Council can include that in the levy, which is included in the packet for the City Council. The levy is being set at $100,000, again, because of the hardship that the community has seen in the last couple of years. I do want to point out just a couple of things on EDA packet page number 11 of 24. It's a summary of the budget, and you see it. There's an actual column for 2020 expenditures, the original 2021 budget, an estimated 2021 expenditures, and then the budget for 2022, which is $100,000. What I wanted to point out in the estimated 2021 column, down at the bottom where you see transfers in of $100,000, that represents the $100,000 in surplus funding that we have talked about several times, the surplus funding in the general fund that will be or may be transferred later on this year after the London Lane sale of property goes through. So that will be $100,000 that this EDA will be able to use for its scattered site housing rehabilitation program. And then in addition, as a reminder, so far you have earmarked approximately, or the City Council has earmarked approximately $350,000 coming from the new ARPA funds. And that will then be realized in 2022. It's not reflected as a transfer in yet. We will modify the budget at the time that that actually takes place in 2022. So about $450,000 will be transferred in for that program, and that would be in addition to the funds that the county would be matching, if any. So with that, just with that reminder of the outside funding that will be coming in, our recommendation tonight is to adopt the resolution providing approval of the preliminary EDA budget for taxes payable in 2022 in the amount of $100,000.
Any questions from Ms. Paulseth? Commissioner Abrams.
Thank you very much. Ms. Paulseth, on page 11, the $29,965 notation for intergovernmental, can you remind me what that was for?
Okay, so that was in the actual 2020 column.
Right.
Yeah.
Intergovernmental revenue. So I'm going to get my memory cap on now.
Okay, let me just remind you, or I'll just tell you what I remember, that there was some type of a refund or money that came back to the city that the council then wanted to designate to the EDA. I guess this is a good time to remind council members too, if we have anything
Right.
like that, that we could if it wasn't earmarked for anything, that we did earmark something for the EDA. And I mean, that's as much as I can remember. I hope that helps.
Yes,
Maybe Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry.
President and Commissioners, I believe it may be, we received a grant from the Metropolitan Council for completion of our 2040 comprehensive plan, and I believe those payments came in two separate allotments, and one was upon adoption. So I believe that revenue might actually have been the grant from the Metropolitan Council for that economic development work.
Okay.
that's correct.
Just one more follow-up then. Ms. Pulseth, could you check back and see, because I want to make sure that what we earmarked as a council, it was some type of a small refund that, small, it still was real money, obviously, that we earmarked to go to the EDA, because, other than the 100,000, we really don't have other things that we, that can really grow this fund, so that we have some substance to start off with some of these programs for the scattered house rehabilitation and such. If you could check on that and then let us know, I think that would be instrumental, so that the council is aware of that when those opportunities come up, when money is not earmarked, we might be able to then, help fund the EDA, because it wasn't taking it from something else.
I will double check on that.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor. And my recollection is that there were a number of property sales that the council has earmarked.
Remember.
Yeah.
I will make the motion to adopt the resolution providing approval of the 2022 preliminary EDA budget in the amount of $100,000 with the funding request of $100,000 from the City Council.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Juniman. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Next, we're going to hear from Assistant Executive Director Thompson about the single-family housing rehabilitation program. This is a very exciting.
Certainly, thank you, President and Commissioners. Since we had this regular quarterly EDA meeting scheduled, we just thought we'd take a brief opportunity to update you on where we're at with the program. So we took the direction from the joint workshop with the EDA and the Housing and Economic Development Commission and that scattered site housing program as kind of a high priority of the EDA and of the council. And so based on that feedback, we did make an application with the University of Minnesota. They have a program called the Resilient Communities Project. They've had it for a number of years, where they partner with government agencies throughout the state of Minnesota to kind of bring the resources of faculty and graduate students at the university to study real projects and real issues in communities. So they study it as part of their coursework. We benefit from the work being done as part of it, and then the students kind of get embedded experience with real issues and real life experiences in cities. So we made that application, and we were accepted into the program, which is great. And so that work will likely begin in January. We're still working through the details of matching what courses will be doing it, but it's likely to kind of break down into two segments. The first would be kind of a background research, like what are the models for this throughout the metro and the United States, so we can kind of understand those models and not reinvent the wheel on it. And the second would actually be like a deep dive from probably a capstone project at the Humphrey School of one of their housing programs to actually start developing kind of program ideas, program guidelines, and program criteria for us to begin to implement. And so we had our first meeting last week with the program staff. They'll be doing that matching this fall, and then we'll get connected up with the professor and the students in that class to work through kind of the scoping of how we can make that connection. So that's the main update. The second update I didn't have in your packet, but occurred to me later, is that as part of our ongoing discussions with the county about the HRA levy and the economic development programming, they, at the last meeting, did let us know that of the many programs they're considering, one that they are looking at is doing what I assume is a very similar program around tax forfeited land, tax forfeited single-family homes, and using some of the HRA levy and some of their ARPA funding to do an acquisition rehab of tax forfeited lands. And so we think there's a general, obviously, connection between the program ideas we have around vacant properties and tax forfeited lands that we're more hopeful for a partnership opportunity on those two programs in Maplewood. So more to come as they launch some of those program ideas and confirm that, but just wanted to give you an update that that's one of the programs they're contemplating as part of the HRA levy discussions. So this is just meant as an update to let you know where we're at with the program and developing it. We'll come back to you certainly, either the EDA or the council or HEDC, with the student groups likely as we start to do some of that engagement with them in developing the programs.
I have a question. Mr. Thompson, you know, you look at this and what the university is doing, I mean, the connection to a lot of money, somewhere or other has to come forward. Is there any conversation about where the lenders or where money is? I mean, this is millions and millions to do, you know, the housing and all that. So is anyone stepping up, or is there any?
In terms of the program costs?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, to acquire the homes and to move things along. I mean, the lenders, you know, they have basically some of the equity already. I'm just wondering if there's a funding piece of this, not, you know, grants and stuff like that, but actual, you know, who's going to actually engage in the transaction. And,
Sure.
You know.
And I think that's one of the things we want the students to begin to study is like what are the kind of the sustainable financing models for these programs long term, and not just a one-off program, but, you know, where can those funding sources come from to make the program ongoing?
Yeah, that's important. And then second question is if this, you know, seems like a really good strategy or endeavor, how are we connected to this? Is it just through you, or is it?
It's a really good question. So I will be the main project lead, so they kind of ask one contact at the city to work directly with the professor and with the students. But one of the things we'll scope out is community engagement and engagement with the organization. So I expect, we'll figure it out, but I'm expecting at least meetings with HEDC and the student groups, if not the EDA or, you know, some small group of people to meet with them if they're interested, because they're certainly interested in engaging with commissioners and elected officials on these issues if needed.
Well, I think you should tap a bunch of us. This is a really good program, and it solves a lot of community issues. You know. So. Oh, I can't see.
Kathy first.
Commissioner Juniman.
Thank you, President Knudsen. This is just a comment from someone who's been sitting here a long time. All good things come to those who wait. I brought this up the first time in 2005. We need a housing rehab program. So if you just keep bringing it to the surface, finally it comes to the top. It only takes 15 years, but it's better than ever at all.
No?
And this isn't a lot of money, but it looks like a lot of money to me, because the first time we made a stab at this, we threw $10,000 at it, and then it went away. So this is looking really good to me.
Who else is on that?
And President Knudsen, I just have a comment. Wonderful, great job. This is so exciting to see happening in our city that, you know, a plan and we talked about, and it started a while ago, but it's actually, it looks like something's going to be done, and great job. Thank you.
Well, that was for information. There's no action needed. Next, we have a resolution approving the Maplewood Mall security camera. Finance Director Paulseth.
Thank you, President and Commissioners. Once again, subsequent to this meeting, the City Council will be allocating $40,000 in ARPA funding to the EDA for the purpose of providing some aid to the mall for security cameras. The City Council has already, the City Council has already allocated it in the budget, but they will be doing the official grant allocation later on this evening. So tonight, our attorneys have helped prepare a rather detailed resolution authorizing these funds to be granted to the EDA, and there is also a draft grant agreement that is being considered right now by both parties, attached to your report. But tonight we are asking for a motion to adopt this attached resolution approving the Maplewood Mall security cameras grant.
Are there any questions for Finance Director Paulseth? My thought on this is this is a good reach. I mean, we're reaching out. I think it's a productivity and it's a safety issue. I mean, if we can breach the number of calls just by having an awareness, I think it's a pretty good deal. So we need a motion?
I will move to adopt the resolution approving Maplewood Mall security cameras grant.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Cave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is approved. Next we have Assistant Executive Director Thompson is asking for us to consider a special meeting on October 25th. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, President and Commissioners. So we are just asking that you call a special meeting for October 25th. The agenda item that we currently have is establishing the tax increment district and the redevelopment agreement with real estate equities for the sale of the London Lane Fire Station property and the redevelopment of the housing project and the tax increment financing that's requested as part of that project. So as we know, we have the regular meetings, but there will be agenda items, so we're asking you to call a special meeting at this time for that date.
Any questions, Mr. Thompson? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move to call a special EDA meeting on October 25th, 2021.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Cave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That concludes our business for this evening. Meeting's adjourned. God, that's fun.
Not a moment too soon.